Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, was born February 13th, 1835, and died 26th of May, 1908. He was a religious figure from India and the founder of the Ahmadiyya movement. He claimed to be the Mujahideen, divine reformer, of the 14th Islamic century, the promised Messiah, second coming of Christ, and the Mahdi awaited by Muslims in the end of days. He declared that Isa, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, Jesus, had in fact survived crucifixion and later died a natural death after having migrated towards Kashmir, and that the belief of his physical return was therefore wrong. He declared that he had appeared in the spirit and the power of Jesus, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. He traveled extensively across the subcontinent of India, preaching his religious ideas and ideals, and won a substantial following within his lifetime. He is known to have engaged in numerous debates and dialogues with the Muslim, Christian, and Hindu priesthood and leaderships. Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, founded the Ahmadiyya movement in Islam on the 23rd of March, 1889. Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, authored around 100 books on various religious, spiritual, and theological issues. He argued against the necessity and the conditions of jihad in the present age. Early life and education. As a child, the promised Messiah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, received his early education at home. He learned to read the Arabic text of the Quran and studied the basics of Arabic grammar and the Persian language from a teacher named Fazl il-Ilahi. At the age of 10, he learned from a teacher named Fazl Ahmed. Again at the age of 17, he learned from a teacher named Gul Ali Shah. The promised Messiah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, married twice. His first wife was his paternal cousin, Hurmat Bibi. His second wife was Hazrat Nusrat Jahan Begum. With his first wife, the promised Messiah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, had two sons, Shahibzada Mirza Sultan Ahmed, 1853 to 1931. His second son was Shibazada Mirza Fazl Ahmed, 1855 to 1904. With his second wife, promised Messiah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, had 10 children. His first 5 children died young. 5 children lived longer. Taking of the Covenant. On 23rd March 1889, promised Messiah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, founded the Ahmadiyya community by taking a pledge from 40 followers. The formal method of joining the Ahmadiyya movement included joining hands and reciting a pledge. Although physical contact was not always necessary, this method of allegiance continued for the rest of his life and after his death by his successors. The Sun and the Moon Eclipse. After announcing the claim to be the Messiah and Mahdi, the opponents demanded the heavenly sign, detailed in the tradition attributed to the 7th century Imam Muhammad al-Baqir. For our Mahdi, there are 2 signs which have never appeared before since the creation of the heavens and the earth. Namely, the moon will eclipse on the first night in Ramadan, and the sun will be eclipsed on the middle day in the same month of Ramadan. And these signs have not appeared since God created the heavens and the earth. This sign is mentioned in the Holy Quran. He asks, when will be the day of resurrection? When the eye is dazzled and the moon is eclipsed, and the sun and the moon are brought together. On that day, man will say, whither to escape? Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. This prophecy was fulfilled in 1894 to 1895, about 3 years after the promised Messiah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, proclaimed himself to be the promised Mahdi and the Messiah. Heavenly Graveyard. The promised Messiah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, mentioned the establishment of a heavenly graveyard, Bashti Makbara, under divine commandment in his booklet Al-Wasiyat, the Will. It is stated that in spiritual vision, promised Messiah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, was shown a plot of land called Bashti Makbara, containing the graves of such members of his community who are destined to be in heaven. Certain conditions of wasiyat. Whoever desires to be buried in this graveyard should contribute towards the expense of its maintenance according to his capacity. Whoever desires to be buried therein should make a testamentary disposition that 1/10 of his property shall, under direction of the movement, be devoted to the propagation of Islam and carrying out the teachings of the Quran. It will be open to every righteous person whose faith is perfect to provide for this purpose in his will more than 1/10, but it shall not be less. Whoever shall lead a righteous life and abstain from all that is prohibited, and shall not do anything that amounts to association of something with God, or to innovation in the faith, he should be a true and sincere Muslim. English Revelations of the Promised Messiah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. I love you. I shall give you a large party of Islam. I shall cause thy message to the corners of the earth. In 1897, a Christian missionary, Henry Martin Clark, filed a lawsuit of attempted murder against the promised Messiah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. However, he was not detained with the grace of Allah Almighty and was declared innocent by the then magistrate, Captain Douglas. In 1899, Scottish-born American clergyman John Alexander Dowie laid claim to be the forerunner of the Second Coming of Christ. Between 1903 and 1907, promised Messiah, peace be upon him, challenged him to a prayer duel, where both would call upon God to expose the other as the false prophet. Dowie declined the challenge, calling the promised silly Mohammedan Messiah. The challenge of prayer duel was made by promised Messiah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, in September 1902. The Dictionary of American Biography states that Dowie may have been a victim of some form of mania, as he suffered from hallucinations during his last illness. Dowie died before Mirza in March 1907. According to Islamic tradition, Jesus, upon his second advent, would descend with or near a white minaret to the east of Damascus, or in the eastern side of Damascus. In 1903, promised Messiah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, laid the foundation of a minaret to commemorate this prophecy. This, according to him, will represent the physical as well as the spiritual aspect of Islam, with a light and a fixed on its top, symbolizing the light of Islam, spreading far and wide, and so man will recognize his time. And a muezzin to give the call to prayer 5 times a day, symbolizing an invitation to Islam. The construction of this minaret was completed in 1916. While he was in Lahore, at the home of Dr. Sayyid Mohammed Hussain, promised Messiah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, fell ill from excessive weakness and passed away on 26 May 1908. Promised Messiah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, was buried in Behashd Makbira, Qadian, Dar-ul Aman, India.